Hello everyone. In this section, we are going to be talking about branding. Although we are not going to actually brand here, we're just going to be giving you pointers as to what you should do when you are branding, right? And the relationship between a brand and managing a social media account. So when managing a social media account, you would understand what you should watch out for, how you should use correctly the correct tone of voice, the correct colors, the correct logo usage, correct font and everything when managing a social media account. So you're just going to know a little bit about branding, right? But we're not going to actually brand here. So the first thing is you have to understand the brand overview. So when managing a social media account, for a brand, they usually have a website or a brand document, and it contains this information. It contains their mission, their vision, and their personality. So, how do they want to communicate? What tone of voice do they want to use? What style do they want to use? How do they want to portray themselves? And if you think about several brands out there, you begin to understand that brand intentionally portray a certain personality outside. They think about it and they decide that this is what is best for our business. This is what is best for us to do. So you're going to go to the website, the brand's website. You're going to go there, look at their mission, their vision, and get a sense of their personality. Or they will send you a brand document. And if they have a brand document, you would understand what is their logo, correct use of their logo. You understand? A logo can have variations, right? It can have usage in different backgrounds, right? So you have to understand how to correctly use their logo. Most times brands don't want you to alter their logo, add something close to it. They need a sufficient amount of space around their logo. They need their logo to be on a plain background. So even if the background is noisy, you would put a plain background at the point where you're putting the logo, right? So you just have to understand how the brand wants their logo to be used. Then you have to understand their colors, their primary color, the main color of the brand, their secondary color. Then you understand the color code. You use the right color code, right? So um, there has to be consistency. You don't want to use a different color. You don't just want to assume that it is blue and just use blue. There is an actual color code when it comes to these things. And then one of the videos you're going to see how to play with colors, right? How to get a color code, how to play with colors. But over here, you have to know that the color is very important. There is a primary color that is usually associated with the brand. They might not be the only one using it, but it it speaks to the fact that they are genuine. For example, when you see other brands trying to scam people, if you really know a brand and you see a scammer come impersonating that brand, you will be able to know because there will be either color difference, or when you see all these products, about made products, you would see that the logo has a slight different. The logo has been manipulated in some way, or there is an alteration in the logo. Maybe it's Adidas now. They just change it to Adidas. Remove the S. Maybe it was Nike. You change it to Nike. Remove the E. Or Nikes. Add S to it. Right? So you know this is not the original brand. So, or maybe they use a different font. You know, this is not the font that the brand use. So that's where typography come in. So imagery. Brand also have imagery they want to be associated with it. Some brand wants to communicate strength. Some brand wants to communicate softness, want to communicate care and love. Some brand want to communicate trust. So these have several imagery associated with it. You want to go into branding in depth, you can look more in depth into it. Then the tone of voice, right? Every brand has their tone of voice. Every brand has how specifically they want to appear. They have their brand archetype, right? So they also have their key hashtags, right? And here over here you see patterns, texture, shapes, right? Every brand has texture. If you're looking at if you've been watching advertisements, you will notice consistency in patterns. Especially when you're looking at when they are seeing if you see an advert from Zenith Bank, you see a consistency in the pattern. Even their buildings are consistent. So they take branding so seriously that their buildings have the same color, the same shape, the same. You know that you are in a Zenith Bank building. That's how serious branding is. So yeah, you have your tone of voice. Like I said, do you want to be playful? Do you want to be casual? Do you want to communicate power? Do you want to communicate care? Do you want to communicate love? Do you want to communicate trust? Do you want to communicate happiness, joy? You want to communicate seriousness, soberness. So the tone of voice is important here. So there's usually applications. I said it earlier when you're using the logos, right? How to use them properly. All these things come into play. So you have to now communicate with somebody in charge to make sure that the branding is consistent. Then there's something else called persona, customer avatar or customer persona. Now this is also relating to branding a little bit, but it's more of marketing. So what this means is that, right? Let's say we are creating a persona for Demure Fashion NG, the brand we're using, the dummy brand we're using, even though I might use it for something later, but the brand we're using, right? So what brand persona means is that we want to know our customer. We want to know how a day in the life of our customer is. When they wake up in the morning to the evening when they sleep again, what do they do? If we were tracking our ideal customer for a week, what are the patterns I would observe from when they wake up in the morning till when they sleep? What do they do? And how these patterns are important to us because during this their course, during this their journey, we want to interrupt them somewhere and speak to them. So we have to know what they do, where they go, where they meet, what they congregate, what they consider valuable, their lifestyle, because we want to interrupt this their journey and grab their attention, and we want to hold their attention. We want to make them our loyal customer. So that's why we need to know. First of all, their age. We want to know what age range are we targeting, are we speaking to? The gender, like for the brand now, it's a female ready to wear brand. So, right, then we want to know where do they live? Where do they live? Do they live in rural areas or they live in urban areas? Then their education level. What is the average education level of our ideal customer? Their occupation. Are they artisans? Are they professional? Are they CEOs? We want to know. So here we see they're mostly corporate workers and entrepreneurs. You understand? If we are talking to CEOs, we know we are talking to CEOs, right? Then the psychographics. We need to know their interests. What interests them? Are they interested in football? Usually from here we see that most of our target audience will not be interested in football. They will not be interested in forex, in politics. Most of our target audience will not be. So they are interested in fashion trends, travel, social media, cultural events, self-care. This is what they are interested in. The value, empowerment, individuality, and all that. Their lifestyle. They are socially active. They know what's up. They know the latest gist. They are busy. You know, they find time to network on Friday. Every Friday, they try and make sure that they go somewhere or they try and make sure they go to a birthday party because, they find time to, network, to meet people. Challenges. The major part of their challenge is balancing work and personal life, right? Balancing work and personal life. And part of balancing work and personal life is to eat properly, to dress properly, to enjoy yourself properly while working. So that is where we come in, finding stylish yet affordable clothing. We want to give them stylish clothing as quickly as possible that they can stay trendy, stay sharp, stay. We want to be their one shop store. So they don't have to know 10,000 online shop. Once they just know our shop, they are good. They come out trendy, come out stylish, come out sharp every time. That is what we want to achieve. So, what are their buying habits? Do they buy online? Yeah, they do buy online. Their media consumption. They're active on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're on Pinterest, right? They also follow influencers and they go to blogs, right? So they like African brands. They like their African cultural identity. They embrace it. So we can infuse that into our communication. So what are our goals, right? So this is their pinpoint, how we help them achieve it. They want to look stylish. They don't want to go to an event and they are the one looking funny when they even have more money than most of the people there because they didn't just get the right clothing. So they want to look stylish, they want to look versatile, they want to maximize what they wear, they want to come out trendy and cultural, right? So the tone of voice is empowering, aspirational, relatable, right? We are playing with trends, we are using different things. So this all comes in when we are managing their account. Now, this is also what you would use to write your mission and your vision statement. In fact, you do this before you start writing your mission and your vision statement, right? So yeah, this is that's it for branding. Understanding the relationship between branding communications, part of which social media is a part of communications, right? Understanding how to communicate to your ideal customers. Okay, in this section, we are doing content creation. We are using AI, right, to create content. So first of all, we want to feed the AI with some information. So we say popular to be a function in Lagos, right? Okay, we have Zefans.co. Um, so we're looking for a company that has a, a good website and specifically a blog section, right? So this one doesn't seem to have a blog section. No, not that I can see. Right. So let's check on Ideology Lagos. Is there a blog section in here? Alright, oh yeah, I think there's a blog section. So I'm going to be fast forwarding some of this, but I just need you to know the steps that I took, right? So when you're working for a company, you would not have to do this because the company would have a website, they would have a brand statement. You use that and you feed that to the AI, and that will give you a head start in content generation, right? That will give you a head start. Their brand statement, their mission statement, what they do will really give you a head start in content creation. So right now I am clicking on all these blog posts. I want to get as many copies as possible. Okay, so I'm copying um, these, going to copy them, put them somewhere. Now, back in the day before AI, what people do is that they search hashtags on Instagram and then they look at all the posts under such hashtags and they use that to generate ideas, right? That are in line with the brand that they are working on. And you can also do that too, but I'm just showing you one way you can begin to generate ideas. So I fed all this to the AI, all those blog posts that I copied, I fed it to the AI. So I'm prompting it now. Use this information to create a content calendar. So it will go there now and it will use the information to create a correct content calendar. This brand, they are similar to the brand I am creating the content calendar for. I'm creating for Demure Fashion NG, and Demure Fashion NG is a ready female ready to be a brand also. So um, it will really help to give me a head start on the content creation, right? So you just have to know how to prompt and how to use AI to generate content. Now, the whole idea is to generate a lot of content ideas. The more content ideas you have before you, the more content you would have. So I'm not really going to use it one after the other. I'm just generating as much content as I can possibly can and that is necessary. Then from there, ideas begin to come up, right? So yeah, let's go. All right, I think it's all good now. Okay, so it's now don't worry if it's not um in line what you're doing, like in line. The idea is to generate as much as possible. Now I have to stop it. I think it's not. There's a prompt I wanted to add. Okay, I think it'll be better now. So I want you to put it in the content in the calendar, right? So I'm taking this also using putting it in ChatGPT. We can see all the content ideas it has generated. All this content calendar, I'm putting them on an Excel sheet. I'm also putting a 30-day content calendar here too. Right. So I have a lot of ideas to look at, and then I'll be able to generate this content based on the ideas that I have. Be shocked. Oh, this is Father's Day, this is Mother's Day, this is. Let's also copy this. These are all content. I've generated a lot of content ideas. Even now, you can read them and you can see that they're in line with what I want to do. Power of color, talking about different things, officials behind the scene. So you see, I have a sea of ideas. I'm just looking for holidays in March because this content calendar is supposed to be in March, right? Holidays in March in Nigeria. So March we have Women's Day, we have Idea Idea Fitri, and we have Mother's Day, right? So we want to indicate these in the content calendar and just block it out so that you are prepared. Because the whole idea of a content calendar is that you're not waking up every day trying to create content. So now you see where the date comes in. Right, how the first thing you do when creating a content calendar is the date. That's what. So I had to add an extra date, right? Even that day is like a Sunday, but I have to post that day. So let's add Mother's Day to it also.